Estimated 50,000 people in Ireland are diagnosed with autism, and for every one person diagnosed, a further 5 have their lives affected by the condition. My next guests are a family who've lived with autism for 20 years. We're going to begin by meeting Conor Deany. Conor, welcome. Nice to meet you.
Hello, Ryan.
How are you?
Thanks.
Good. Tell us a bit about yourself. Where are you from?
I'm from Ballyliffin, County Donegal.
Yes, and what age are you?
20.
Good. And you're in college?
I go to National Learning Network in Letterkenny, and I learn cookery and road safety and life skills and learn money.
Good. And are you enjoying the experience there? It's good fun?
Yes.
Okay. And what other things do you like doing other than going to college and learning the things you just spoke about?
I like computers.
Yeah. And yeah, I believe when we were talking a little earlier on, you mentioned that you also like the odd musical. Is that right?
Yes.
Yes. Which ones?
I like going to Art in Carhouse in Letterkenny.
Yes. Okay. And what about Riverdance? How are you on that?
I like Riverdance, Lord Dance, and I have at home, and I like Irish dance and Spanish when I go dance.
Okay. Do you do any of the dancing yourself?
With my aunties, uncles, and my cousins.
You like to dance around a bit. Are you a good dancer?
Yes.
You're pretty good. Okay. And movies? What movies do you like watching?
I like watching My Fair Lady.
Yes.
The movie.
Right. You like Audrey Hepburn and...
Yes.
You like the movie? And who's here with you tonight?
My Auntie Mary.
Is this your dancing auntie?
That's my Auntie Mary.
Oh, your Auntie Mary. And who else? Who am I about to talk to?
My mum, Bernie Deany, and my sister, Anya Deany.
So should we go and meet Bernie and Anya now?
Yes.
Conor, well done for coming on tonight.
Thanks.
Nice to see you. Take care of yourself. Okay, let's go and meet Mum and sister. There you go. You're very welcome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, I have to say, Conor, it was a pleasure to meet before and on the show. And Conor wanted to be here tonight. He wanted to be in the audience tonight. That was a specific request?
Well, he wanted to be here, but not sitting up here. He wanted to stay with Auntie Mary.
And why is
that? I guess spotlight. He's not that crazy about sitting up here or whatever.
He did well there, didn't he?
He did super. Yeah, he did super. Next time he should come up here.
Yeah, well, we'll ask him that later on. That could be the next visit. Yeah, and you know, I'm acutely aware that Conor is obviously with us today, and we're going to be talking about him. But he's okay with that we're talking about him.
Yeah, absolutely. We're all working together for Autism Awareness, which is on Tuesday, April 2nd. So we've been very busy in Letterkenny doing a lot of work towards that, the awareness.
And when we're going to talk about Conor's past now, and Conor doesn't have a grasp on that concept. Is that the case? The past and his history?
Not particularly. Not particularly. Would have a fabulous memory, you know, when it comes to dates that certain things were done or shows that we went to, whatever. Yeah.
But not necessarily the emotional engagement.
No.
Okay. Can we go back then to 20 years? I said Conor told us he was 20, and when he was born and in his early months and years, did you notice anything particularly unusual or different?
I would have been aware there was a test done just right after birth in America that it checked the reflexes of the child and how they responded to certain stimuli. And I got the results of that back in the hospital, and the results were sort of average, and I questioned at the time how come, and I was told, well, they all develop at different stages. So I wasn't really, I wasn't
aware of anything different at that
stage.
Point.
But as time went on, I would have noticed that the play was very limited. The imagination skills weren't there, and there were certain sounds that really, really set him off.
These are all, as I understand, classic signs that you now know.
As in a cot mobile that was over his cot that I used to wind up to settle him, and it had the opposite effect. And it was only after a few times that I thought, right, this is what's setting them off.
Okay, so there were a number of these little things. Were they were just growing and growing?
Yeah, and I would say probably it was when Anya was born that I noticed the difference and eye contact and trying to engage you, and I noticed the change, and I thought
totally different story.
Something, yeah.
And was Conor? Was he a sociable baby, a young toddler?
Happy little baby, but to say sociable with me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But at play school?
Somebody he knew. Play school, we didn't. No, not at all. We didn't really engage at play school. The first play school, actually, that he went to, they were unable to cope. And after a couple of days, I was asked that I take him home, that it was too much work. They just didn't have the skills to deal with it.
But no mother wants to hear that.
No,
that must have been pretty hard.
That was probably tougher than the diagnosis, being told that.
In what sense? Why was that tougher?
Because where I knew that, there was a difficulty, I didn't realise that it would be that difficult for a group of people working, that they could manage between them. I didn't expect that I would be told that I would need to take him somewhere else. But I was very fortunate that we found somewhere else.
Well, tell me about what your family were saying, because obviously we all have, if we're fortunate enough, with brothers and sisters and there's babies, and maybe one brother or sister might say, listen, do you think? And yet nobody particularly, you're not really meant to get involved with other people's children. So were your family dancing around it, or did they approach it?
In a sense, I suppose there was nobody really familiar with what was wrong, what was going on.
Yes.
And maybe, we were second guessing as to what might have been the problem, but I did have an instance or two where it was said to me, my dad, God rest him, he would have, he loved all his children and grandchildren, but he would have said to me at one time, did you ever get his hearing checked? And I said, no, why? And he said, well, I've been trying to engage him for the last 10 minutes and I can't get him. And I said, well, he's watching the telly and it's something that he enjoys. And he said, yeah, but he's not responding to me at all. And I said, well, have you try asking him if he wants to go to the shop for an ice cream and see if you get a reaction. And just like that, he was.
Sure enough.
So my dad said, oh, well, and selective hearing then he has. So that was okay. Then a little later on, a brother of mine rang me one morning and he had read an article in the Derry Journal regarding autism, and he said, pick up this paper, read this article, there's things in here that are very familiar, and I think you need to read it.
And how old then was Conor when he was diagnosed? After you read that, you obviously went well.
Oh, yeah. I'd say probably actually around 6, because there was a lot of factors that weren't obvious.
Okay.
There were certain things that we were doing and things that we weren't doing, and it wasn't just the just straightforward case that they were looking for.
And when you had a diagnosis, Bernie, was it a relief or was it painful?
No, actually, I can still remember that day. It was a sad day, yeah, I can say that.
It was.
But by the same token, it was a relief in that it was an answer, and I thought, okay, I have an answer here. I can work with this. I can possibly figure it out. Or
within the family, of course, there's the little sister, Anya, and you were then, as a younger baby sister, how was Conor with you, and when did you begin to wonder what's happening here?
Well, I think whenever I was really young, like 4 or 5, I didn't really pass any remarks on it because I kind of just thought he was doing the normal childish thing, he was just behaving badly, trying to annoy the parents. But then whenever I started hitting maybe about 8 or 9, I started becoming maybe more self-conscious and I wanted my friends to come over to the house. Like, I was kind of noticing he's not like everyone else. He didn't want to join in games. And whenever we tried to talk to him, he would just want to ignore us. And I used to say, do you want to come and play with us? And he'd just walk away. And then my friends then used to start asking me, why is he so different to everyone else? And what I thought was normal, I started to realise it wasn't the usual behaviour of everyone else.
Yeah. Tell us about your communion day then.
Oh, my communion day. Well, where it's meant to be like, you wake up and you're all excited and getting the hair and the makeup or dresses. Hopefully not makeup.
Yeah. I'm glad you said that.
Yeah. The dresses and stuff.
Yeah.
Whenever I was on the way to the chapel, all I could think was, I just hope to God he sits down and is quiet. I was just so nervous. The main thing was to get out of the chapel without him causing a riot in the chapel.
Because I suppose that age is when you start getting self-conscious of your friends, and I hope then that there's no messing along, that kind of thing. So I suppose, in a way, was there an embarrassment then
Yeah,
for you.
it was like a lot. Like even inviting friends and stuff over to the house, I was just so afraid that he might do something in front of my friends or say something or might do something silly, like, you know.
And did you ask your folks about it? Did you say, what's happening here? Why is he not like the other big brothers? Or
I kind of just sort of thought about it for myself. Not that I couldn't ask my parents, but I knew that they already had so much on their plate. I didn't really want to burden them anymore with asking questions, and sort of, I just tried to figure it out for myself. I think my parents were already so tied down with work and trying to manage him. I never really got time to speak to either of them about it.
Well, that is a point for so many families. I mentioned the number of families who are touched by autism in the country today, and that point of the other siblings, the brothers and sisters, and the parents are so focused on trying to make life as normal as possible for everyone, and of course they have to hone in on the one child, as it were. Is that something that you realised was happening?
It's something that I do feel very strongly about, because we were just on the spectrum.
Yeah.
And we weren't that badly, we were affected by it, of course, but we weren't that badly affected. But I would be aware of a lot of families out there who are at the other end of the spectrum, and they're living a hell. Yeah. And
support in schools. What's the support like? How was Connor's support in school?
We were so fortunate.
You were
We were
blessed.
so fortunate in that when it came to national school time, I have a sister, Geraldine, who was a great help and support when he was young. And her friend, who was a teacher also, Helen, she taught in a school in Buncrana, Scoil Isaac in Buncrana, and she recommended the school to me. She taught in it and recommended it, and I knew that she wouldn't have just done that lightly. So I went up to the school and I asked if I could just meet with the principal, see how we got on, and I met her, and as soon as I met her, I knew that she was different to a lot of the others, in that she wanted to know, she wanted to engage, and we never looked back.
You hit
from
gold.
there. Yeah, we had classroom assistants all through as well, which made all the difference.
What about you then, Anya? Obviously, the teenage years were probably pretty curious for you. But as you're in college now, is that right? In Dublin.
College, yeah.
And what's your attitude to your brother nowadays, as a more mature young person?
I still would be really protective over him now.
Yeah.
I still kind of watch him 24/7 whenever I'm with him. I try not to, but it's changed. Like now, I understand it better. I understand autism better, and I used to help out an awful lot with the Special Olympics, and I kind of seen different sides to autism and Down syndrome and stuff. And I kind of got more of an understanding for it.
And those days of embarrassment are long gone.
They're not completely gone.
They're not gone. No, that's very honest of you. When do they raise their head again?
Yeah, every so often, especially like in social gatherings, like parties and stuff. I'd still be kind of embarrassed if you do something silly. Yeah.
So somebody has to come in and say, does it put a strain then within the family on relationships?
Yeah, it most definitely does, because you're so focused on trying to just get through the daily routine, and it puts a strain on relationships. There's a high rate of divorce within the whole autism spectrum. I'm one of those statistics, and I feel that perhaps if there was help for families from early on, as in just general counselling, people coming in, recognising the difficulties that you're going through.
To give it a more, what's the word they use, holistic experience, and so it's not just the child or the young adult or whatever it might be, if the whole family need to be talked about, with and to.
Yeah, and you know, as I said before, the other children that are adversely affected by it, they end up bringing themselves up in a lot of circumstances, because although you know that you should be doing more for that kid, that other kid, your hands are tied. There's really not a lot you can do.
It sounds like a lot of plate spinning.
It's a lot of
constantly on the go.
Stress. Yeah, absolutely. And then